Yeah, you know what it is. The division round of the National Football League playoffs. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching World of Matchups. NFL Handicapping Podcast coming to you guys live and direct from Las Vegas, Nevada. I am your host, Dexter Reed. On the other side of the glass, my A1 from day one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the greatest producer of all time, Mr. Spencer the Wiz. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is man, it's so crazy that the NFL season is almost over. You know, you're just looking at the slate. The number of games just keeps getting smaller and smaller, and you're like, it's got to end at some point. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it is, man. But like, honestly, and this is just not to brag, this is the exciting time of the year for me. You know what I mean? As a person who has seen the darkest days that the Kansas City Chiefs have pretty much ever had, and to actually been living right now in the golden era, this is everything I could ask for. Like today is like Christmas Day for me. I mean, obviously, if they lose and don't three-peat, I'm gonna be disappointed. However, it's nothing but pure excitement over here, man. It's like fantasy football ends. If you win any money, great. Now here comes the playoffs. You know what I mean? And honestly, for all of you guys out there that don't know what this feels like Spencer, like I hope you realize, like I get to experience what this is like one day. Because when you rep a team as hard as some of us do and get nothing in return, it's just a hollow feeling, man. You know, like if the Chiefs go out, man, I'm rooting for the Lions. I want those Lions fans to get theirs. I would even root for the Bills, man. I watched a special on the Bills 4 for 4 losses last night. It's on Netflix. If you get a chance, you got to watch this, bro. I went to bed depressed. How do you go to 4 Super Bowls and lose all 4? Like, I would want that for them if it's not going to be me. You know what I mean? So, anyway, that's my little diatribe on how I'm feeling today. But welcome in, everybody. Before we get started breaking down these 4 games, thoughts on last week, Spencer? You went 2-4. I went 3-3. What was your most surprising win and loss?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the least surprising loss that I took last week was that Texans Chargers. I mean, logic tells you to take the Chargers, but
They're
for some
horrible.
reason, there's just something on that franchise that they just can't get over. It reminds me a lot of the Cowboys, right? They have for so many years now, except for this year, they had these dominant regular seasons. They have a pretty favorable matchup in the first round, and then they lose, not just lose, but like in epic fashion. Like just
Yeah.
you couldn't believe how bad they're losing. You know, this is the worst mistakes that you could have. You know, like week one of the season type of mistakes, and they're doing that all the time. Justin Herbert had a terrible game
He
too.
was horrible, bro. I mean,
They
literally,
they have a lot to figure
they
out.
got a lot to figure out, man. He's starting to now get this reputation of a guy that can't win in a big spot. I mean, the next playoff game he plays, the pressure is on, man. It's on. And they got to get him some playmakers besides Lad McConkey. I mean, seriously. Quentin Johnson is absolutely horrible. They should just waive him. They look bad. I took a bath on Saturday. I lost my first 2 bets, and that was a big reason for it because I don't think Houston Texans are necessarily that good, bro. But they play well on that Saturday afternoon game now, back to back years. For me, it was the Washington Commanders going into Tampa Bay and winning that game. I was really, really sold that the Buccaneers were going to come out and play really, really well. And they made 2 mistakes in that game that cost them the game. One was the botched fumble by Baker to McMillan, and the other one was the pre-snap motion by the center that cost them. And Jaden Daniels is going to be Rookie of the Year. Seriously, man, Jaden Daniels, you might be looking at like a
Hey, I
little.
made that bet at the beginning of the year. That was one of my that was on my ticket for
You were all
season
over
long
that.
bets.
Yeah, you were all over that, man. I mean, he's
I'm
Rookie of
gonna
the
get some
Year.
good money. I put money on it. I'm making a good
You're
return.
making some money on that. And the thing about Jaden Daniels that you like is that he's got a little bit of everything. There's a little Cam to him. There's a little Vic to him. He's got, to me, already a better arm than Lamar, but there's a little Lamar to him. And, like, he's so just cool, calm, and collective. You watch this guy on the sidelines when they pan over to him, you would never know what's happening in the game based on his demeanor. He is just even keel, cool as a cucumber. I don't know which way I'm going to go in this Detroit game. I've been going back and forth with it. I mean, it wouldn't shock me to see him keep this game close. It really wouldn't. But that is coming here shortly. Let's start with today's game, Spencer. We'll let you set it off.
Yeah, we have the Houston Texans going into Kansas City. Obviously, in my opinion, a very favorable matchup in the first round for the Kansas City Chiefs in the road to the Super Bowl. We talked about this last week. When you play a team in the playoffs, you're going to play a good team, right? So you kind of have to pick and choose. Well, you don't get to pick and choose, but there are lesser of two evils, right? No doubt about it. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, like, yeah, this is a team in the Houston Texans that just fell apart when they played a good team last year. CJ Stroud was a rookie, obviously, but they were kind of just given that game last week. I mean, horrible interceptions, bad fumble. The Kansas City Chiefs are not going to do that. And obviously, when they played each other at this point in the season, they looked like they couldn't do anything. They couldn't move the ball. And I don't know if anything's changed on that front since that game. Look, they just had two awful injuries at the wide receiver position. There's no way in the world that the Chargers should have lost that game last week. How many times have I said that? You said that over the course of like the playoffs for the Chargers, right? It seems like every year they just have these teams that are ready to make these big runs and then they just fall apart. So I don't necessarily give all of that credit to the Texans. I know that's a bit unfair, but we're talking about the Super Bowl here. You know what I mean? This isn't week 10 in the National Football League. We're 2 games away from the Super Bowl. And when I think about it like that, I just don't think the Texans have what it takes to beat this team right now. Maybe if they're fully healthy, you can get a crazy play from Diggs here, Collins there, and the game gets kind of close when it shouldn't be. They don't have that. And unless Joe Mixon just goes absolutely nuclear bananas, that's not going to happen. Now, with that being said, the Kansas City Chiefs have not almost never covered the spread, except I think for 2 weeks this year. And you're giving me 9 points. That seems
it's 8 right
a little
now.
ridiculous. So I'm going to go ahead.
Oh,
I think the
9.
Texans are
100. Wow.
I think 100% that the Texans are going to lose this game, but I just think they're going to keep it close enough. I mean, I'd have to see the Kansas City Chiefs do it in the playoffs. It's so hard to just churn it on. We always say that every year about different teams and different sports. If they can just turn it on. Happened with the Golden Knights a couple of years ago, where they're just fumbling their way through the season, barely making it, and they're like, "Oh, when the playoffs roll around, it'll all come together." It's like that's a really, really hard thing to do. Kind of need to be a fine-tuned team. We'll see what ends up happening, but I'm going to take the Houston Texans just because I think it's too many points for a playoff game.
Yeah, it's hard to argue anything you just said, bro. You know what I mean? You've been watching football a long time. I've been watching football a long time. We've seen these trends. This is what I do know, especially based on last year, okay? What have I always told you since I met you about playoff Pat? What have I told you?
Yeah, he just is on a different level.
Playoff Pat is different, bro. Okay? So if you guys think for a second that the Patrick Mahomes that you are getting today at 130 is the Patrick Mahomes that you've gotten all year, you're mistaken. Okay, you're mistaken. And while I wanted the Chargers because I just like beating up on the Chargers because their fans really think that they're better than they are, I will take the Texans happily. This is a great first round draw for Kansas City. Now, are the Texans going to roll over and die? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. D'Amico Ryans has done a good job with this team. I do think they have taken a step back from what you saw last year. Injuries have decimated this team. Stephon Diggs with the ACL, he is done. His career could be potentially over. The Tank Dell injury is as gruesome an injury I have seen on a football field in about 2 years. That is your long guy. Now he is out. Robert Woods is on one leg. Joe Mixon is on one ankle. Look, guys, how are they going to score? CJ Stroud's going to have to run in this game for them to win this game. And that's not something that he does. So Dalton Schultz is now someone you're really, hanging your hat on. To me, he's very mid. Now, the Chiefs do struggle with tight ends, so there might be something there. But then their other tight end is out. I mean, they are a mash unit of an NFL football team. Walking into Kansas City, they are a dome team walking into 22-degree weather right now. It is 22 degrees right now in Kansas City and cloudy. Winter is coming, folks. This is what the Kansas City Chiefs do. They don't lose divisional games, guys. Patrick Mahomes' baseline for his career has been the AFC Championship as a starter, except for his rookie year when he played one game. Think about that. Guys, let that sink in. Patrick Mahomes will pass Joe Montana if he wins today in playoff wins, only second to Tom Brady. Guy's not even 30 yet, folks. Let this stuff sink in. I am pushing all my chips to the middle of the table, just like I did. I learned last year. I took Miami plus 4.5 last year in this game. Remember when it was like people were losing fingers and toes because of frostbite?
Yeah,
I
that was
thought
nuts.
I don't know how I'm like, I don't know how I convinced myself to take Miami plus the points there. They got murdered. And that's what's going to happen here, man. That's what's going to happen here. The Kansas City Chiefs have not played meaningful football since Christmas. And in that time, they have gotten all their players rested and healthy. There's only one player they're missing. It's McCole Hardman. Jalen Watson is now cornerback 2. He was supposed to be out for the year. He is back. Pacheco's ribs have healed up. He will start alongside Kareem Hunt. He is back. You have gotten your left tackle situation somewhat under control. The last 3 games, they have kicked Joe Tooney out to LT and brought in Caliendo at LG. Caliendo is a liability in pass pro. However, I would rather have Mahomes protected. And so they have that going for them. It's going to be a little different, I think, this year, Spencer, than last year, where they were just like, we're going to just feed Pacheco, dude. We're going to death by a million paper cuts is still in play because 7 points is 7 points. But I think they're going to try to open the playbook up a little bit more this playoffs and throw the ball a lot more. Why? Because last year it was pretty much just Rashee Rice and whoever else could catch. Sprinkle Travis Kelce in for the tutties, and Rice was moving the chains. This year they got D-Hop, who I think they're going to unleash today. They're going to unleash. This is why they brought D-Hop here. And for all the complaining I did about Xavier Worthy during our draft show, I was wrong. The guys look fantastic. And now you got Juju you can sprinkle in. Of course, Travis Kelce is still there. Justin Watson's still there. Dude, they got weapons everywhere. Dude, Noah Gray is a starting tight end on most teams. Dude, the Chiefs, the only team that can beat the Kansas City Chiefs right now is the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to stand on that 10 toes down. I think they win this game by 10 points. 30-20 is going to be my final. I think the defining factor here is that the Kansas City defense is now going to be playing a lot better. A lot better, because you can't just single out Trent McDuffie now. Before Watson went down, he was playing at an elite level. And they don't have another wide receiver outside of Nico Collins. You could double Nico here, honestly. Double Nico and pull and pray. Who else do they have? You see what I mean? Who else do they have? To me, this all ends up to be a resounding Kansas City victory. And the X factor, which I failed to mention. Dude, Hollywood Brown coming back to this team has just set everything right. Now everyone's going back to their rightful positions. You're not asking Worthy to do something that he's not supposed to do. Hollywood Brown, I'm telling you, is playing for a contract. He is going to have an amazing playoffs. And you're going to see playoff Pat today. Don't be surprised if you see them trying to stretch the field a little bit more. Guys, the playbook that you have seen during the regular season from Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, you're not going to see that playbook. They have not given you anything to look at the last couple weeks. This is a playbook playoff. Okay? It's a whole nother, it's those plays with additions to those plays. So when you think one thing is happening, something else completely happens. And just like last year, you're going to see a little bit more each game. They get out of this game, they get on the Bills-Ravens train next week, you're going to see a little bit more. And then in the Super Bowl, everything is wide open. Dude, this is what the Chiefs do. And Clark Hunt and company have been more aggressive than I've ever seen them be in the history of the team. They are going for this three-peat, and whatever happens, happens. If they don't win another playoff game for 10 years, who cares? And if Patrick Mahomes wins the Super Bowl, he is the greatest of all time. We could debate this till you can't breathe. Go argue with a wall. Go argue with a wall. You're talking about something that has never happened in the history of the league. That is GOAT measure. And he's not even 30. Chiefs in a rout, 30-20. I have spoken. Guys, don't be scared here. This is not the regular season. Oh, the Chiefs never cover. They never do it. It's always a 3-point win. The refs always bail them out. This is not your mom and pop's Kansas City Chiefs, folks. This is playoff football in their element versus a dome team. I feel more confident about this than I did about last year's Super Bowl. And I felt confident about the Super Bowl. I knew the Chiefs were winning the Super Bowl after what I witnessed during the playoffs versus the Ravens and the Bills. There was no way they were losing that game. And I feel like that about today. And if they somehow blow this, I'm going to be devastated. I got to be honest. I'm going to be devastated. You know how I felt about
it would be a huge upset.
I'm going to be devastated, bro. I'm going right to the doctor and getting on Lexapro. It will take me a month. It'll take me a month to get over this.
Oh yeah.
When the Chiefs got demolished, when they got demolished by Tampa Bay, I was not okay for about 6 weeks. I'm not.
I've never seen the Raiders in a meaningful playoff game since I was 5, but I've had other teams like there were the Memphis Grizzlies back in the day were making those runs. They went to the conference finals and they lost in overtime in that first game to the conference finals.
You just destroyed.
Oh man, it ruins your entire week. It literally.
Because
you can't stop thinking about it, you know. It just hangs on you.
I'll lock myself in my room upstairs and just go to sleep.
Yeah, so you can't talk. You definitely can't talk to anybody. That's
just
for sure.
Just leave me alone, dude. But I don't see that happening. I do see the Chiefs advancing, and I don't care who they play. It doesn't matter to me. You want to be the best, you have to beat the best. And I like Kansas City minus the 9 here. Do not be scared. And guys, for all intents and purposes, before we continue, this is the greatest teaser weekend of the year. Kansas City minus 3 and under. Dude, that's a steak dinner, bro. I got it at 8 yesterday. Now the pundits in Vegas are obviously feeling like Kansas City is going to roll because it's gone up a whole point overnight. But either way, tease this. I'm telling you, man, this is a good bet. Chiefs are going to advance. What's next, Spencer?
All right, the game tonight at 5 is the Washington Commanders. They're playing the Detroit Lions. It feels like the city of Detroit is about to explode. This is one of those things where it literally it captures an entire city. If you're living in the city of Detroit, like you're in on this. Yeah. That doesn't happen all the time. Like when the Rams went to the Super Bowl, it's like, oh hey, I think the Rams are playing down the road. You know, like every once in a while, like, oh yeah, I remember that they're in the city now. In Detroit, the whole city is watching. There won't be one TV where people aren't watching this Lions playoff game tonight.
Businesses will be closed.
Yeah. The people inside that stadium are going to go feral. It is going to be absolutely nuts when that game kicks off. The Washington Commanders, obviously, what can you even really say? I mean, truly amazing, like that they're even here. Because I feel the same way I did last week as I do this week. I think the Detroit Lions are going to roll them. I really do. I just think that there's just too much energy. And I felt like that was going to happen last week with the Bucs, but whatever excitement you think that the Tampa Bay crowd had for that playoff game against Washington, it's going to pale in comparison to what's going on in Detroit. And I think they're just going to be clicking on all cylinders. They're getting ready to play the Eagles. I mean, that's the matchup we've been waiting for all year.
And that's
literally from the first week.
From week 1, I've been telling you guys that's the NFC
And I don't think the Detroit Lions are going to overthink this. I just think that they're on such a business type of level, and there's just so much excitement. Like when a guy makes a play on their team, the whole team is erupting. You know, everyone is just so locked in on a level that you rarely see in football. I mean, this is almost like those runs that the Patriots had. And I know the Lions haven't won anything yet, but those Tom Brady years where it's just like that team was so professional, man. It's like a 9-to-5. You know, you're playing a gladiator sport, and these guys are treating it like they're taking office jobs. It's crazy, you know, just how in tune these people are. And despite the fact that the Detroit Lions like have a lot of injuries, you know, like behind the scenes, but they just find a way. It doesn't like they could take a fan from the stands and put him in a uniform, and the guy will have a game-sealing interception somehow. I mean, that just seems like how they're playing. And the Lions, I like to stand behind them at home, and they just seem to blow teams out. That Vikings game, obviously, that was big for them. They've had a couple close games here and there, but they have proven at home more often than not, when they're clicking on all cylinders, it doesn't matter who's playing on the other side. Like, they're going to win that game, and they're going to put up a lot of points. Can Jaden Daniels do it twice in a row to have a really high-quality game? That's a lot to ask for a rookie, especially in the environment that he's going to be in. This is another step forward for him. Great that he even got here. Not saying that he's going to have like a 5-interception game, but I just don't think he's going to have as much success as he did last week. And I think the Lions are just going to keep scoring and scoring and scoring.
Here's the deal. Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders won last week because of mistakes that were made by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went and got it, but it was kind of gifted. Okay, it was kind of gifted. And like Spencer has alluded to here, that Tampa Bay crowd is not going to be the Detroit crowd. I've been on the Detroit Lions for years now. Spencer will tell you, man, I saw this coming 3 years ago when they hired Dan Campbell and they started winning games with Goff. This is coming now to the culmination. The volcano is about to erupt. The volcano is going to erupt if they make it to the Super Bowl. It's not there yet, but it's boiling. It's boiling. And it's boiling in their building. Ford Field tonight is going to be absolutely electric. Earlier this week, I thought maybe Jaden Daniels and the Commanders could keep this close. I don't think so anymore. I think they absolutely get their doors blown off here for a number of reasons. Number one, you're getting David Montgomery back. Mandatory Montgomery is on the field. So you're trying to hold down a 225-pound running back. And after he softens you up, they bring in my estimation, the best running back in the league in Jahmyr Gibbs. How are they gonna stop this? How are they gonna stop this? I mean, I know that the Commander defense has gotten better as the weeks have gone by, but let's not act like this team hasn't gotten some gift wins. You know what I mean? Like the Hail Mary versus Chicago. I mean, I'm not saying they're not as good as they are, but I'm saying that they're not as good as they are. Guys, if you take Terry McLaurin away, how are they going to win this game? How are they going to win this game, dude? I double Scary Terry, and I'm making you beat me with Zach Ertz and Diami Brown. I just can't see it. These guys cannot score at the clip that the Detroit Lions can score at. In order for Washington to win this game, Jared Goff has to turn the ball over at least 2 times. At least a minimum of 2 times. You're going to see Amon-Ra get into it. You're going to see J-Mo get into it. You're going to see a guy even like Sam Laporta, who has not been that great this year. He's going to get the guy. Just weapons galore, man. And this is what I love. Dan Campbell is a 4-down coach. It don't matter. Now, does he always need to be a 4-down coach? No. But he doesn't care. Okay? 4th and 15 from his 40. Having a place kicker on that team is almost useless. You should have that guy just hang out in the locker room, keep your leg warm, and then like someone will beep you if we need you on the field. And then when you kick, you go back into the locker room. You know, it's useless. Like, why have a field goal kicker? That's how much I think that they're going to run it up. I think they score 35 points today, no problem. No, guys, they can have 35 points by the 3rd quarter. The pimps are going to be there. Mom's spaghetti is going to be closed. Eminem's going to be there. Guys, this literally tonight is the biggest game in Detroit Lions history.
Oh, yeah. They've done nothing in their franchise history.
History. You are watching history. And so if you are from Detroit, from Michigan, any of the neighboring areas, this is what you're doing tonight. I don't care if you're getting married. You stop your wedding and you watch this game. Or the game is on at your wedding. This is how big this is. I'm trying to paint a picture so you guys really understand what the Washington Commanders are up against. It's like the Commanders versus the world tonight. It's like them versus the National Guard. This is Braveheart, Detroit style. Okay? And I don't see a world where Washington covers this spread unless the game is a 6-point teaser. If it's teased, they might just cover by a half point. But if you're just going Lions minus 8.5, that's gravy. I feel just as confident about the Lions today as I do about the Kansas City Chiefs. I think both home teams roll. I think both fan bases are going to be too much. I think the elements are going to be too much for Houston. I think the elements are going to be too much for Jaden Daniels. He's walking into a Lions den, no pun intended, literally. Guys, one time, okay, as a rookie quarterback going on the road in the playoffs. One time, okay. Okay, they gifted you the win and you took advantage of it and you won it. Two times? Guys, two times? I mean, Bo Nix went on the road, scored first, and never saw the ball again. Guys, they're going to get demolished tonight. This is my best bet. Lions minus 8.5 is not enough. This should be 10, 11 points. Dan Campbell is going to send a message to the other team coming out of the NFC and to the rest of the NFL today. He's sending a message, and he is giving Detroit everything that he promised them when he had his kneecaps interview. We're biting kneecaps, and people are like, who the hell is this guy? He's delivering on that promise, and I see the Lions going to the Super Bowl personally, but we're going to not get too ahead of ourselves. Take the Lions minus 8.5. If you want to tease them down, a field goal wins. I will take the over here because I do think that some scoring is going to happen because there are a lot of injuries on the Detroit side of the ball. But DC Aaron Glenn has done a fine job with them, even with these injuries. I mean, they still got guys out there like Brian Branch, very good safety. The rookie corner gives up a lot of penalties, but he is very, very good. I say just double Scary Terry and take your chances. Lions minus 8.5 is the play.
All right, that's going to take us to tomorrow's action. The noon game is the LA Rams going to Philadelphia.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you about the Rams? What did I say? I said it with my chest. I told you guys.
This is a tough game to call for sure. This is the one game where for me, it's a coin toss. I think I'm just going to take Philly at home. They just feel like one of those teams of destinies. They feel like a team that could beat the Lions. Because at the end of the day, you have the Lions have all this going for them, but the Eagles they don't have holes on their team. They just are so good from top to bottom. And Saquon Barkley's the best player in the league right now. He's the best player going into the playoffs. And I don't think it's that close. I mean, the guy is taking knees at the end of games because people can't stop him. He has to stop himself before the other team can. That's just the kind of way that he's operating. And when I think about that kind of football in the playoffs, you're running the clock all the time. You can't be stopped. Suddenly you have two possessions to score twice. It's like you look up on the clock. You're like, whoa, what happened? The game's almost over. And the Eagles, they just figured it out late in the season. In the beginning, they were trying to do this balanced attack, we'll trick them with Saquon so we can, have these nice passing plays. I know you have good receivers, but if you run the ball, the other team can't stop you from scoring, right? And that's the goal of the game. And they realize that. You're like, it doesn't really matter how good our passing game is because they can't stop this side of the ball. And I know the Rams they look really good. And I think there's going to be a ton of money on the Rams. I think people are going to look at last week and just, be dead convinced that they're going to win this game almost. And it's just like the Eagles, obviously, crazy home field advantage. They're playing so well, man. They're just playing the way that you need to win football games right now. And when I think about it as only being a touchdown, I like that. I mean, I think if they can get to Matthew Stafford, I think that's definitely not outside the world of possibilities. I think that defensive line is going to be pumped as hell for this. They're going to, get a lot of stops in this game. And then I just need them to score a touchdown. So I like the Eagles. It's not my favorite game of the weekend, but if I'm leaning towards the side, I'm definitely leaning the Eagles in this one.
This is my least favorite game of the weekend, and that just goes to show you how good these games are going to be. Guys, cancel your plans. Seriously, man. I only work 2 days this week. I don't even care about the money. Cancel your plans and stay home and watch football, guys. No, I'm serious. This is as good as it gets, man. Normally, it's super wild card weekend, but the games last week were okay. They weren't great. Good, guys. These games, they're going to be unbelievable. Okay? Listen. I was all over the Rams. I told you. I'm like, Sam Darnold is gonna Sam Darnold, and that's exactly what happened. You guys have to understand. The second best head coach in the National Football League behind Andy Reid is Sean McVay. Look what they've done in less than 3 years after winning a Super Bowl. It's like they never ever fell apart. They stuck together. Verse, Fisk, great additions, replacing Aaron Donald. You get Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams in what round? I mean, come on. They've done a great job. And I was going to take them plus 6.5. If you would have asked me Monday, that was a lock. It's Saturday. And I have a funny feeling that they're going to get their doors blown off. And I'm going to tell you why. Rookies make mistakes. And Jared Verse made a mistake here. Okay, they're interviewing Jared Verse. And obviously Sean McVay has not told these guys to shut up. And Jared Verse is going on and on and on about how he hates the Eagles and how he hates the Eagles fans and they're the scum of the earth and they're the worst people ever and I can't stand them. And when I see somebody wearing an Eagles jersey, I get sick to my stomach and just on and on and on and on and on. You're feeling yourself. You got a scoop and score. You're flipping to the end zone. Now you're the greatest thing on earth. And here you are just talking all this garbage. Bro, have you played in Philadelphia in the playoffs? The answer to that question is obviously no, because somebody would have got to you and shut you up. So now you've poked the bear. You've poked the bear. I don't think the LA Wildfires can save you 2 weeks in a row. I just don't. Okay, you're flying across the country, 3,000 miles.
Philly doesn't care about those fires, man. Those Philly fans.
Dude, Philly fans set the fires.
Yeah.
Okay.
They would go over there and do it again.
Philly fans set the fires. You guys don't understand. In case you didn't watch the show last week, I need to express to you what is happening in Philadelphia. I went to school over there, man. I know a lot of people from the Germantown, Mount Airy area. I hung out in Philly, dude. It's not some place you want to go. If you're from there, if that's one thing, but if you are wearing the wrong colors and you're walking those streets, you are going to get hurt. Dude, they will turn on their own, man. They're feral. Let Nick Sirianni talk out of his neck and say something stupid. They will drag him, and he's the head coach. Guys, they threw snowballs and batteries at Santa Claus, bro. Did you see that thing this week where this guy went in on this Packer fan and got fired? Did you see that? This is the type of people. This is the type of people that are in these stands.
He's like a CEO type guy too, and
dude.
He was making so mean, dude.
Guy making
absolutely awful.
$300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, loses his job.
He turns into a ghoul the moment he enters that stadium.
You guys don't understand, man. I know a lot of you are casuals and, you watch football kind of here and there. Guys, this is the playoffs. And this is the Philadelphia Eagles, guys. There's not a fan base that is like this fan base. The Eagles are a starved animal that you throw a steak in front of in their building in the playoffs. And I think that Matthew Stafford is in trouble here. I think you poked the bear and you shouldn't have. He is not that mobile at 36. The front four is okay, but this is not the Vikings. The Eagles' D-line is the top 3 D-line, man. They live for days like this. They're going to eat big. And let's be honest, last week they really didn't do much. I mean, Jordan Love and the Packers, outside of Josh Jacobs, they didn't really put up much of a fight. I mean, when you think about it, A.J. Brown is on the sidelines reading a book. You can tell it was obvious the plays that they were calling were designed to keep Jalen Hurts from not getting hurt worse. You know what I mean? They babied Jalen Hurts. Now another week, healthier, more practice. We're starting to unscramble his eggs a little bit. You might see a little bit more of the regular Eagles that you saw destroy the Rams in LA under the lights earlier this season. Guys, I think this is a tough spot for the Rams. Kyron Williams is small. What happens if they double Puka? They've slowly phased out Cooper Kupp. You're going to ask Cooper Kupp to do a lot here. But let's be honest, man. The Eagles' secondary was their Achilles heel last year, and I made so much money off them. You made so much money off them.
I might win my other season-long bet on Quinion Mitchell, Defensive Player of the Year, by the way.
Man.
I could. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I could.
Mitch, Cooper DeJean, that is their version of Fisk and Verse. They saw the problem, they addressed the problem, and they fixed the problem because you dummies who were picking ahead of them let these guys drop. You let these guys fall right in their lap, and they have done a wonderful job. Dude, the Eagles are going to mob today. They're going to mop today. I'm telling you right now, if the Rams find a way to win this game, the National Guard will have to get called into Philadelphia because these Eagles fans, they're not having it, man. They're not having it. And I'm telling you, it'll Nick Sirianni better have his bags packed just in case. Just in case. Because if any malarkey goes down like that, he ain't making it out of the stadium. Let him blow this game somehow, and his family will have to be moved into witness protection. Y'all think I'm joking, dude. I've seen this before. It ain't all sweet in Philly. Okay? It ain't always sunny in Philadelphia. It ain't all about cheesesteaks. All right? It's not. They are coming for blood. They already feel like they blew it versus Kansas City 2 years ago. And this team, to me, is better. And they are fully expecting to meet Detroit for the NFC Championship game. And they think they can win that game. Eagles minus 6.5 is the play. A tutty wins you money. If you're scared, tease it. The teaser ain't going to pay you much, but it'll basically just be the Eagles to win at home. And you can over-under whatever you like. I'm not so sure how I feel about the OU in this game. I do think you're going to see the real Eagles, though. I do. I think you're going to see Slim Reaper, A.J. Brown. I think you're going to see the tush push. The playbook is open, man. And I think they mob here. Eagles minus 6.5 is the play.
All right. We have the strangely 3:30 game after this, not a 5 o'clock game. Kind of bizarre, especially on a long weekend for a lot of people. It's the Baltimore Ravens going into Buffalo to play the Bills. The Ravens are 1.5-point favorites in this game. I've thought about this game a lot. First of all, it's the best game of the weekend, in my opinion.
This is the best game of the year so far.
Yeah, it's just these are those legacy games, you know what I mean? Because
the
old guard obviously of the NFL is gone, and we've been waiting for this for a long time now, right? Those Peyton Manning, Tom Brady playoff games. Quarterback matchups are what drives the popularity of the league, right? Plain and simple, in my opinion. And this is one of those games when these guys' careers are over. We're going to look back. You're like, hey, you remember that game in 2025, where Lamar Jackson went into Buffalo? And, we're going to be talking about this one for a long time now because one of these two quarterbacks will end their career with a Super Bowl at least, if not both of them, in my opinion.
Maybe.
We'll have to see. I mean,
maybe.
You never know. But these are obviously the two premier quarterbacks in the NFL, right? Right in that top 5, top 3, maybe, right? And I'm leaning towards the Buffalo Bills in this one. And I know the Ravens offense seems to be clicking on another level. And what I really mean to say is Derrick Henry, right? Because he's just kind of one of those Saquon Barkley levels. But don't know, man. I just think that home field advantage matters, obviously, a lot. I mean, it makes a huge difference. And it's not like Baltimore's not used to playing in the cold. So that's not necessarily an advantage one way or the other. Both these teams are going to be ready to play. Honestly, this comes back to, obviously not to the level of like Patrick Mahomes. It's just like when I think about who I think could win a playoff game, just closing my eyes, not looking at the rosters. I know he has he's at home. I just think Josh Allen won't leave the stadium until he wins. I can't really explain what that means. It's like he won't allow the clock to hit 0 until he has more points than the other team. He's just going to do whatever is necessary. He honestly, I'm a huge Josh Allen fan. I mean, he's obviously just a big football guy. He's got insane athleticism, you know what I mean? And he'll do a 360 spin in the air if it means he gets, an extra point. If they're going for 2 for no reason, he'll flip himself over just to get the points. I feel like he's going to carry this team to the victory somehow, some way. Not to say that their team's bad or anything like that, but obviously this is going to be a close contest. And if he has the ball last and they need him to score, I just don't think there's any way that they don't win this game. I guess that's kind of how I really feel about it. You're talking about a 1.5-point spread. That basically just means the Bills have to win the game. And I'm going to put my chips behind Josh Allen in this one.
It's hard to argue with anything you said. It's hard to argue with anyone who disagrees with you at this time of the year because usually they're bringing facts to the table over feelings. I really want to like the Bills here. I do, okay, for a lot of reasons. And I like Josh Allen. I'm a Chief fan, but I like Josh Allen a lot. A lot. I like Josh Allen a lot more than I like Lamar Jackson. You guys know how I feel about Lamar Jackson. Yes, Lamar Jackson is Mike Trout. He's stats. He's MVPs, he's stats. Guy's an amazing athlete. I just don't think he's a great quarterback. I know that's crazy when you look at his numbers. Or what I should say, I guess, is I don't think he's a great clutch quarterback. Let's rephrase it. Let's rephrase it. Because the guy is amazing. I'm not a hater, okay? When I needed it from him, it seems like every single time I need it from Lamar Jackson, somehow I have money on it, and he just never does it for me. I'm reminded of where I was watching him play this very game a couple of years ago in Buffalo. And they got dragged, bro. Dragged, And I don't necessarily think that Buffalo team is as good as the Buffalo team we're going to see today. But I'm taking the Ravens minus the 1.5, and I'm going to tell you why. It's snowing in Buffalo right now. It's snowing and it's raining in Buffalo right now. Sunday's low will be 13 degrees after 11 p.m. and the high will be 22 after 12. And the temperature will range and it will feel like 6 to 16. Okay? Wind will make it feel colder than the actual temperature. So you are now really battling the elements. Okay? Tyler Bass hasn't been 100% great as he used to be. Justin Tucker hasn't been 100% great as he used to be. Quarterbacks may not be able to throw the way they would like to. Zay Flowers may not play. These things matter. Okay, so now your passing games have been not so much neutralized, but you're going to have to baby how you do things. Quick throws, slants, screens. There's not going to be a whole lot of deep passes in these games. Okay? Which leaves what? Leaves the run game. To me, Lamar Jackson runs every bit as good as Josh Allen. Maybe better, because to me, he's more elusive. Josh Allen wants to run you over. Lamar Jackson is going to run past you. And then the X factor is Derrick Henry. And I think this is why they're going to win the game. Last week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens ran the ball 50 times for 299 yards. Sweet Mary, Mother of God. 50 times, Spencer. This is why Derrick Henry was brought to Baltimore. This game, after seeing Patrick Mahomes, and they shit their pants in their own building and ran the ball outside of Lamar 6 times, they looked at each other in the war room and they said, this will never, ever, ever happen again. And they went out and they got the best free agent running back on the market, not named Saquon Barkley, and they brought him to Baltimore, and it has worked out. It has worked out, man. And I think that they are just going to run the ball. They're a bigger front four. The Buffalo Bills defense is small. They're fast. They get to the ball, but I think they might have a very hard time killing the engine today. Or tomorrow, I should say. And that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to kill the engine. I think you're going to see a lot of RPO, so you're not going to be so sure where the ball is. And if it's any kind of inclement weather, I think it benefits Baltimore just as much as it does. And whatever defense makes a big play is going to win this game. I think that Lamar's got more to lose here, Spencer. He's got more to lose here. Because the knock on Lamar Jackson is that he's not a big game quarterback, that he never gets it done when it matters. Honestly, I think whoever wins this game is who they're going to give the MVP to. They should name the MVP before these games. Seriously. Because if Josh Allen wins this game, they're giving him the MVP. Which to me is BS, dude. It's Lamar's MVP. It'll be like when they didn't give it to, Nikola Jokic. That's his dude, stop. Jokic is just because you don't want to give it to him 3 times. It's his MVP. Those numbers are MVP numbers. Lamar's numbers are MVP numbers. I don't have to like it. I don't even really like Lamar like that. But he's the MVP. If anything, I'm going to say what's true. I'm going to call a spade. And I think that this is a legacy game for Lamar. I think Josh Allen could still come back next year stronger, better, with a better team, and still have a shot to win a Super Bowl. If Lamar loses this game, you may not see Lamar like this again. You may not, man. like Kansas City, they have pushed all their eggs into one basket. Derrick Henry will be 32 next year. I mean, how much better can they be than they are right now? And earlier this year, under the lights, they took the Bills apart. They took the Bills apart 35-10. Now, will the Bills remember that? And now it's in our building, and now it's our turn to swing? Maybe. But an undersized, faster team in bad weather doesn't benefit you versus a stronger ground game. I'm taking the Ravens here. I'm not taking them with a whole lot of confidence, but I do believe that they want to get back to Kansas City and finish what they started week 1 when they lost that game by a toenail. Ravens plus 1.5. Out of the 3 games, this is the one game that I wouldn't even bother teasing. I would leave this game alone and enjoy it for its greatness, because that's what it's going to be. Whether it's a defensive struggle or whether it is an offensive battle, you're going to witness the top probably 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League right now go at it in a hostile environment. Don't ruin it by worrying about points. Take it straight up either way and enjoy the game. Ravens minus 1.5 is my pick. That's the slate.
All right. I'm going to go back and I'll say that the Philadelphia Eagles are my best bet this week.
Philadelphia Eagles are your best bet. The Lions are my best bet. I don't see a way that the Lions do not absolutely roll the Washington Commanders here. Parting shots.
Ben Johnson to the Raiders is really starting to heat up, man. Tom Brady's got that look on his face like he knows something. At least that's what everyone in Raider Nation is saying. That would be amazing. He would probably be the highest paid head coach in NFL history right off the bat. It'd be cool to see, man. And I said this before. I made this little thread on Twitter about the ideal Raiders offseason. You get him. T. Higgins is going to be a favorite to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. You're telling me that one of the best offensive minds that isn't named, Sean McVay and Andy Reid, you can give T. Higgins that guy and also pay him the highest paid wide receiver contract in the NFL because the Raiders have the most cap space going into the offseason. How does T. Higgins say? I mean, the quarterback situation obviously has to get figured out. Now, personally, I think that Aiden O'Connell would be fine in a Ben Johnson offense. He fits that kind of Jared Goff mold where he kind of tells him where to throw the ball. That would be the hard part to convince T. Higgins, but the fact that you can pair him up with the biggest contract and a great offensive mind, I feel like that's going to make him a favorite to go to the Raiders, and they can go into the draft kind of doing whatever they want, getting an Ashton Genty, right? I think that would be a great pairing for the Raiders. We'll have to see, but that's obviously one of the biggest news headlines of the week besides other head coaching, vacancies. Mike Vrabel, we didn't really talk about too much, but everyone's waiting to see what Ben Johnson's going to do, right? He is the premier coach coming out and, going to make his debut as a head coach this offseason.
Yeah, and I think that would be a good place for him to land. They're going to give him the reins, the full control would happen. I don't think the Vegas Raiders is a particularly good job. You know what I mean? But if you like control, I mean, money
him
talks.
And Brock Bowers would be nuts. I mean, you give an offensive mind like that.
There's no question about it. But money talks, but control hollers. You know what I mean?
You can get both in Vegas.
Me personally, yeah, you can get both in Vegas. I'm like, what has Ben Johnson done that is making him this amazing candidate? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm at. But you're in desperation mode in Vegas. You are now paying 4 coaches that aren't even, there. Like, they're really trying to change the narrative in Vegas because you've seen what LA has done. You've seen what Denver has done. Kansas City is a model of consistency. They're the standard. And then there's you, so I get it. I'm not so sure it would be the right move. I'm hearing a lot of steam about Deion Sanders coming to the league, whereas he has said in the past it's not something that he is very much interested in doing. He likes Colorado. He doesn't want to have to try to coach grown men. But I see it happening. And my parting shot is, if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm calling Deion up and I'm like, dude, what do you want? What do you want? Because whatever you say you want is what I'm giving you, and you're going to come and you're going to coach the Cowboys for me next year. Problem is, Jerry Jones needs to take a back seat and realize that he can no longer be the most important person in the room. Jerry needing to be the most important person in any room he's in has killed the Dallas Cowboys. And it's time to give the reins to someone else, because I'm telling you right now, if you're in a room with Prime is the most important person in the room. I don't care who you are. Dude, Michael Jordan and Prime in the same room, Prime is still the most important person in the room. You guys may not think so, okay? You cannot out-ego Prime. He is that guy. Prime is that guy, okay? When they said him, there's a picture of Prime. Jordan's him too. But in NFL circles, Deion Sanders is an absolute god. And I think that his experience in college is setting him up to come to the league, or let him go someplace where his son goes. He's coming to the league, man. He's coming, guys. Deion Sanders is coming. You Colorado Buffalo fans, lament it starting now, because it's happening. There's not a lot of good head coaches out there. And like I said, money talks, but control hollers, man. And if you're going to pay me and then tell me I get to do everything I want to do without anybody looking over my shoulder and questioning and calling and saying, is this okay? It's on, dude. It's on. And so I like Jerry to get out of the way, and I like Deion Sanders coming to Dallas. I like the Vrabel signing. I told you that was going to happen. I mean, Vrabel knew he was going to the Patriots a month ago, Spencer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mike McCarthy's going to probably go to the Saints. Who's going to be the head coach of the Bears, Spencer?
No one wants to go.
That's tough, man. They are holding out hope for Ben Johnson. Let me tell you something. Either the Bears or the Raiders are going to get stuck holding an empty bag.
Yeah. No, one of them's going to get left out to dry.
That's going
to one of those two teams is going to get Ben Johnson. But yeah, whoever doesn't, the rest of the coaching carousels, you're going to have to hire Pete Carroll.
Ugh. Although Pete Carroll would be good. He'd be good in Chicago. God, he's so old, though, man. He's so outdated. You know what I mean?
He is, man.
Here's my thing, too, man. Like, you shouldn't be able to even interview or talk to any of these guys until their season is fully over.
I think it's so weird.
If your season is live, like, you guys coming and trying to talk to my DC, no. You talking to my GM? No. We are playing football right now. Why is this allowed? It should be tampering charges. You should lose draft picks.
No, I've heard reports. I mean, obviously these are all rumors right now, but I've heard reports in place that Ben Johnson is going to get the highest paid contract to come to Las Vegas. And I heard a report that there's going to be a lot of upset teams when it's all said and done, because it's going to seem like they made it in a day, right? After the Detroit Lions season's over, it seems like it's going to get announced the next day. And It's just going to be set in place. And people are like, whoa, how did this happen? You know what I mean?
So it's going to be worse than Vrabel. It's going to be worse than Vrabel. I mean,
yeah, it seems like a bad kept secret. I mean, I know I'm a Raiders fan, so obviously I'm probably seeing a little bit of biased reporting, on my social feed, but it just, it's starting to become a real thing. Like the NFL channel is starting to report on this, that talks are starting to heat up. And then some insiders from the Raiders organization that I like they really making it seem like it's kind of already
coming.
happened.
Yeah, it's coming. It's probably a handshake deal in place, barring something crazy going on. I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire. It's just what it is. This is the NFL, and it doesn't make sense to have this stuff happening while other teams are playing, but it is what it is. You got to jockey for position and kind of cheat if you can. It happens.
It happened to the UNLV football team. They lost their head coach before they played their bowl game. He was gone. He didn't even coach for it.
It was gone, dude. God, there should be something in place that stops this stuff from happening. But that's the league that we're in. World of Matches. Bring in the heat, guys. I'm so fired up right now. I am so ready, man. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to fire up my big screen TV. It is on and popping. I'll have no voice today by 4 o'clock. I promise you. Bring in the heat as always every Saturday. We'll be back next week. We're going to break down the championship Sunday, guys. AFC championship game, NFC championship game in all its splendor. Like we say always, we always allude to this at the end of our shows that, we do this for fun. Couple bucks here, couple bucks there. I'm a waiter. Spencer's a teacher. Guys, we're not balling. We're not like my buddy AG Magic, who's trying to do this for a living. You know what I mean? Like, if you struggle with gambling, man, get yourself the help you need. GamblersAnonymous.com. It's a real thing. There's no shame in it. Don't lose your livelihood, over a game that's being played. It's not worth it. Until next week, I am Dexter Reed, your host. On the other side, that is my man, Spencer the Wiz. And guys, we're out. Enjoy the games.
We'll see you next time.